hot gun on, heat gun on, and let it get hot for just a minute to kind of get the adhesive going. And then stick it on. Now these are kind of long, probably longer than they need to be, definitely. If you had a wider strap, you might want to turn in the other direction so it could catch more. Yeah, these guys are long. What's going to be one of the biggest complaints a patient's going to have is that the straps, the Velcro tabs are coming off. You know, what do we do about that? Well, super glue works great, and tell them to do that when they're at home. If they start to come off, and just put a little dab of super glue. The other thing I do is I always give them extra Velcro because they may not be able to go to Joann's Fabrics or wherever. So just make sure that you make it as convenient as possible for them. Give them a couple extra ones. What I've also seen with this stuff is that if they're wearing it for a long time and it's winter time and they've got blankets on their beds, all the fuzzy stuff in the blankets are going to get in there. Okay.
Thanks. Appreciate it. If you're in a nursing home or hospital, it's always beneficial to somehow label the splint too. Sometimes it comes off in the middle of the night and then it goes with the linens in the morning. So
That's true, especially these white ones. You can really get messed up in the sheets and stuff.
and posting or educating the nurse or the family member, caregiver, including the patient, about wearing schedule too.
Okay. The same holds true with your straps. I want you guys to get in the habit, since you're starting this out, start kind of using good technique early. Round your straps edges a little bit too. It just kind of looks tackier when you've got kind of just these other edges. And one thing I always tell the patients is always leave the straps attached to one side, because obviously these could come off on both sides. And what happens is if they do that, then they usually lose them, or they don't remember which strap goes where. So keep them attached to one side like this, and then you're ready to put the final fitting on them. And remember that we've smoothed out a few of these places, and then you'll cut the straps. So before we do that though, let's dip it, because I want you guys to get in the habit of doing this when you make yours today. Let's round this a little bit so that it's not quite so sharp. Have you got the water in the oven?
Yeah, Sandy did.
I hope it's not like burning down.
It's under 200.
Yeah, now this one's taking a while.
Pretty good sunburn there.
Oh my gosh, Stephanie.
Rusty's gonna think you beat me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Things you do for your students.
Yeah, now that we've turned the hydroculator or the splint pan down, it's not doing as well.
Well, I pretty much
That's okay.
turned it off, Teresa.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. And remember when I did the up here by her metacarpals, it didn't take very long for it to heat up. So you guys remember that when you're doing yours today. And usually using the heel of your hand like this helps to kind of just, we're talking about a very, very small rolling of the edge.
Because I think the table rounds it too much.
Yeah, that's how they taught us in school.
Oh, they did?
To use a tabletop.
Yeah, I just kind of like to use the heel of my hand. Let me try it one more time, guys. Try it off. And remember, the most important thing is don't get it too tight around that thumb. With a real life patient, they're probably going to have some swelling. So you're going to be focusing so much on, I got to work down here, I got to work up here. Don't get to the point where you forget that if that thumb, you're squeezing that thumb too tight, and they can't get it off, because she had obviously nothing wrong. But if we put that much torque on a real patient, they wouldn't like it, especially if they were like a status post-surgery or just even an arthritic patient. So, I want you to put it on for me, miss. And again, ask them to put it on to see if they can do it. Strap it on. Cut off the excess. Now, don't let them walk out of your clinic right away. Keep them there for a little bit. A little bit might be 10 minutes, but make sure that that's a time when you're telling them, going over the instructions, when to wear it, precautions, things like that. But it also gives you time for them to wear it for a while so that they can see if it's rubbing anywhere. Because anything feels good for 5 minutes, but when you get out of here and you're wearing it for 3 hours, you get home and you realize that it's too tight somewhere. And how do we fix it? Well, you either have to have the inconvenience of coming back in or driving 60 miles to come back in. And working around the therapist's schedule to get in. So try to make sure that they wear it.
The pan. Smoking gun. Is smoke just turned down? Yeah.
So try to make sure that they wear it for at least 10 minutes, at least during your time. And then after you've made it, look at it. Make sure that you've, cleared the distal palmar crease. And if it still feels like it's not, then you need to roll it back more. I don't know how many times I've had to do that. You just do it till it's right. And if your other patient's waiting, then you figure out what you're going to do. So the bottom line is being prepared up front makes a world of difference. It gives you those extra minutes to problem solve, to fix it at the end. Again, if it's too wide here, high here, make sure you trim it. If it's really tight here, take the splint off and go ahead and take it off for me, Steph. And these materials are really rigid, very rigid, and you can tell she's still having trouble getting it on and off. Take it and just pull it out a little bit like this. At this point, you can work with it a little bit more strenuous. Pull it out a little bit because you can tell that she's having a little bit of trouble. Pull it out, give her a little bit more space in there. I don't like to use padding unless you absolutely need to, because padding to me makes it not fit as good. It also makes them hotter, but sometimes you have to do it. Right along in here, a lot of times they'll complain of pain. So make sure that this area is stretched out a little bit. Okay?
How do you assess the fit of the straps?
You want to make sure, like I said, that your sides of your splint are not too high. You want to make sure that the strap is coming across the skin and actually holding the hand down into the splint.
And usually I
Put one finger underneath to make sure that you can at least get that it's not too tight.
especially if they have edema, that really cuts into and affects their
Now,
skin.
if the straps are too loose, though, what's going to happen is the hand's going to migrate around in there, and it's not going to support it. But like Stephanie said, you want to make sure that you have a nice snug fit, but not too tight. And that's probably too tight for you right there. And again, we would probably trim this down a little bit more back here because it still looks kind of high on the sides for her.
No, when she flips and like the straps are kind of sticking out, would you trim those down so like they can lay flat
Yeah.
so they're not like...
Right. Trim them down, get them where you want them, because you don't want that getting caught on anything. Yeah. And again, send them home with extra straps, send them home with that extra Velcro, and tell them how to clean it, because it'll get sweaty, it'll get hot. Usually we tell them to use alcohol and a cotton ball, swab it out with that, or else lukewarm soapy water, take the straps off, clean it out that way. Wear a stockinette. Again, the stockinette helps because it decreases the perspiration and stuff. So a lot of times, even after you've made it with the stockinette on, I'll send them home with the stockinette to wear. So, questions?
I think it's a good fit. I mean, you didn't. I think
feel
on my
okay?
forearm, and I think
Yeah.
that's for me pretty good.
It doesn't look too bad. You know, it may not be quite 2/3, but like I said, a lot of times you'll make it so long that every time they flex, it's hitting them. So,
Fun, huh?
so you guys can do this, no problem.
So we'll have a station back here, and then in the small lab space, I